Okay, number 11 says simplify x plus 10 quantity squared. So it's a binomial we're squaring. First thing I want to do is expand that. So again, if I square something, I'm taking it times itself. So this is the same thing as saying x plus 10 times x plus 10. So now I'm multiplying two binomials together, so I'm going to use the Punnett square. So first parentheses is x and 10, second parentheses is x and 10. X times x is x squared, x times 10 is 10x, 10 times x is 10x, and 10 times 10 is 100. Then on the diagonal you're going to have like terms that you can add together. So I start with the x squared. 10x plus 10x is 20x, and then plus 100 because it's a positive 100. Okay, number 12 says factor completely 20x to the third y to the sixth minus 4xy. So we want to find the greatest common factor first, which means I want to start by figuring out what each term actually has, or the factors of each term. So 20, numbers that go into 20 are 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. X to the third is like x times x times x. Y to the sixth is like y times y times y times y times y times y. Then on bottom I got a 4xy. Well, numbers that go into 4 are 1, 2, and 4. I have 1x and 1y. So now I want to find the biggest thing they have in common. So the biggest number they have in common is a 4. The biggest number of x's they have in common is 1. And the biggest number of y's they have in common is 1. So my greatest common factor is 4xy. Now I say, okay, I picked 4. 4 times what gives me 20, and that's 5. How many x's do I have left uncircled? Well, that's 2, so it's x squared. How many y's do I have left? Well, that's 5, so it's y to the fifth. There was a minus sign in the middle up here, so we have a minus sign here. I picked 4. 4 times what gives me 4? Well, that's 1. And then I have no x's or y's left uncircled. Okay, 13, x squared plus 3x plus 10, or sorry, factor x squared plus 3x minus 10. So again, I need to know what a, b, and c is. So again, a is the number in front of x squared, so it's an imaginary 1. B is the number in front of x, and c is the constant of the term without a variable. So I want to make my diamond. Again, a times c on top and b on the bottom. So a times c, 1 times negative 10 is negative 10. B is 3, so 3 on the bottom. So I need to multiply to get negative 10, and I need to add to get positive 3. So again, I got a negative on top, so it tells me I need one negative and one positive number. And since it's a positive on bottom, that means the bigger number has to be positive. So I look at, okay, well, what goes into 10? Either 1 and 10, 2 and 5. And again, I know the bigger number has to be positive. So I look at which one of those adds up to give me positive 3. And that's negative 2 and 5. So then I can write my answer. We know we have x and x here because it's x squared. Then I got a negative 2 as one of my side numbers, so I put minus 2. Positive 5, so it's plus 5 for the other one. 14 says solve by factoring x squared minus 5x minus 24 equals 0. So again, I'm going to factor with the diamond, so I need to know what a is, which in this case would be 1 again. B would be negative 5, and c would be negative 24. So if I set up my diamond, a times c would be 1 times negative 24, which is negative 24. B would be equal to negative 5. So again, I got a negative on top and a negative on bottom. So that means I got a positive and a negative, and the bigger number has to be negative. So what goes into 24? We got 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. And again, I would know the bigger number would have to be negative. So which one of these pairs adds up to -5? Well, that's 3 and -8. So I can write this as x plus 3 times x minus 8 equals 0. So again, we found out that once I have this, then I set each parenthesis equal to 0, but it's basically going to be the opposite. So x would equal -3 and x would equal +8.